Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Because the two parties in America that we have just ain't cutting it. They both support sending over $100 billion to Ukraine. We could have spent that money saving lives with universal health care, but instead we spend that money taking lives overseas, which is our specialty. We send them what we call foreign aid. Foreign aid, that's money to another country. We drop care packages on their heads from the sky, but it's not full of food. And the only money we have left over, we're going to spend shooting down hobby balloons. At least Macy's figured out how to make a balloon look like somebody. They could attack us with Superman or something. Would Mickey Mouse's adorable ears eavesdropping on our cell phone conversations be so much worse than the NSA? I don't think so. Do you know we could end this war today through diplomacy, but our politicians want to enrich weapons manufacturers so they keep donating to them to the tune of $100 billion. Chris Hedges has called America a mafia state. Systems of governance that are seized by a tiny cabal become mafia states. The military-industrial complex and the Ukraine war represent an orgy of looting and corruption. America is the most powerful mafia that has ever existed. And the hitmen in that mafia have military pilot licenses. The difference between our government these days and the mafia in the 1940s, well, the mafia in the 1940s helped defeat the Nazis. They used longshoremen and union leaders. It's a sad day when you can't even trust the mafia anymore. Do you know what America really needs? We need to take the money out of Ukraine and give it to everybody here so we can buy a balloon and a gun. That's the only way we can settle this. We all need to be floating around shooting each other down out of the sky. Better yet, the guns shoot vaccine syringes. Yeah, that's America. Eat boosters, you motherfuckers. America is so corrupt, even our Peace Prize winners are war criminals. Barack Obama won a Peace Prize and he immediately ramped up the war in Afghanistan, starting bombing Libya, put a hit on Osama bin Laden, dropped 26,000 bombs in Syria. And that's the thing about those Peace Prizes. Nobody ever tries to win a second.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's doing okay today. Cold here. It's supposed to go to 11 below tonight. The big snowstorm we were supposed to get ended up being nothing much, just a dusting of snow on the ground, so we didn't get a whole lot. But it's cold, and my truck started hard this morning. But you have to have a good battery in a state like this. If you've got a vehicle, the small vehicles. Excuse me here. The small cars, like the little Beetles and stuff like that, they have a very hard time through the winter here because the batteries are small in those cars, and cars like that you have to keep in a heated garage. You can't just leave them outside during the winter because you're constantly going to be cranking and cranking to get that thing started in the morning after a cold night. So, it's better to have a vehicle that has a big battery, and usually you're going to find that in the SUVs and the pickups, which is why a lot of people in the state drive trucks like that. Because I mean, I had a small car and I had to have it jump started at least a couple of times because the battery is just too small. And you know, they load vehicles down with electronic gadgets and stuff like that, and that just takes more energy out of the battery when you start that car up to turn those things on. So you're better off when you're in Maine, if you're going to get a small car, which I wouldn't recommend, but if you did, get it with less electronic stuff in it. The less the better, because that's less draining your battery, and in the wintertime it'll be less that the poor battery is going to have to try to turn on when you turn that damn key. So that's my advice for those living around in Maine in the cold states. As you saw at the beginning here, Jimmy Dore, who was somebody I really don't listen to on the radio or whatever, he's been around for quite a while, and from what I understand, he's usually a Democratic talking voice, okay? But people today seem to be thinking he's moving more to the right than he has, and some people are speculating that maybe, he's not getting the money he used to get, and he's trying to get attention back to him by talking bullshit, right-wing stuff. And so 2 or 3 days ago, they had this peace rally in Washington, D.C., where he was one of the speakers there, and you can watch his whole 18-minute rant on YouTube. Just put Jimmy Dore peace rally Washington, D.C., and you can sit and watch the whole thing. But he said a lot of anti-American things in this peace rally in relation to what's going on in Ukraine. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, a peace rally is a good place to make your views known, but, shouldn't peace also include what goes on in the rest of the world too? I mean, if you're talking peace, it's not just peace, in one place only. I mean, you're talking peace around the world, okay? But for some reason, he thinks that the United States is the reason why this war is going on in Ukraine. And I can't imagine why, he would be going down that road, okay? I do know, however, that there are a lot of people on the right who want to blame Ukraine for what's happening to Ukraine. Okay, as crazy as that sounds, they want to blame that country that's being invaded, okay, for what's happening to them, because they seem to think now, some of these people on the right, that there is Nazism in that country. Really? Well, if that's such a big, important thing that we need to get rid of, then why don't we deal with the ones right here in the United States who are really drawing a lot of fucking fire from the rest of us? Okay, why don't we do something about them? Honestly, I don't get it. I mean, it's crazy. And I feel like, the right wing is only doing this because it might be what they need to hear in order to gain votes or something like that. I mean, this is probably their way of trying to stir the pot for the presidential election by starting now, by creating chaos in this country, creating this ridiculous debate that really doesn't need to be a debate about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, okay? And I just feel like, well, if people actually sit down and look at how this started, okay, and you remember, it was Ukraine that was surprised by Russia. The first target Russia hit was a goddamn school with little kids in there, okay? That wasn't a military target. No, they attacked a goddamn school full of kids. And Ukraine has been on the defense ever since. Does that sound like a country that's trying to invade Russia? No, because what? Look at where they've been doing their fighting. Has Ukraine crossed the border into Russia? Okay, if they were trying to invade Russia, have they gone across the border? Because they certainly had plenty of opportunity to do that in this last year. Because they've been pushing Russian forces back and further back to the east side of Ukraine. They could have kept going with their aircraft right across the border and started hitting Russian targets and forcing the military out of Ukraine to go respond. They didn't do that. No, Ukraine is only defending itself from Russia, so they're not invading. It's the Russians that crossed the border into Ukraine and started this fight. Okay? They're the ones that it's going into their country, raping, pillaging, you know, killing anything that moves over there. Even people that aren't even in the military, they're just killing. They're just going in there and you know, doing whatever the hell they want. No rules, okay? No holds barred. Does this sound like a country that's, you know, peaceful or something like that? That's, oh, we're the victim? Don't believe that for a fucking second. They got people out of their own prisons to serve in the military to go over there and fight in Ukraine. The Russians did, okay? The Russians have their own, their prison criminals fighting in their damn military, all right? And some of those fucking people took the opportunity to flee from Russia across the border into other countries. So, you know, not all these criminals were stupid to fight for Russia, so they left. They ran. But Putin doesn't care, okay? As long as he's got people over there fighting, that's all he cares. He doesn't care how they fight, you know, or how they win their targets, you know, as long as they do what they had to do, you know. But just look at the strategic way things are being done. I mean, if you can read a fucking map and you could plot out where attacks have been happening in Ukraine, you're going to see that it's the Russians that have been, you know, deliberately going into areas that are not military, okay, seizing power out of the system, blowing up fucking towns and cities. I mean, look what Russia did to Chechnya, okay, way back then. They literally turned that town into fucking rubble, okay? They destroyed that friggin' place, and that was on their own soil, for Christ's sake. What the hell was wrong with Chechnya that he had to go and do that? Oh, it was full of Jewish people. That's what it was. Okay, so this is kind of what, you know, you have to understand about Putin, is that he's not a victim. He's playing the victim, and I think that, you know, because we know Trump had gotten help from Russia to win the 2016 election. We know that now. Okay, the evidence has shown that he was helped to win, which means he cheated in the 2016 election, okay? Because you're not supposed to be getting help from other countries during that kind of during an election, okay? That's against the rules here. But we know he got help from Putin. He asked Putin to, you know, find dirt, you know, or anything on Hillary, you know, to sway voters, okay? And so he did that. And I guess Putin and him are still in cahoots with each other, because I think Putin is or rather Trump wants to have more chaos going on, all right, in order to work in his favor. Because as they say, when there's chaos, that's when you steal, okay? When people are at each other's throats all around the country, that's the best time to do your crime, because nobody's going to be really looking what the other hand is doing, right? So, you know, he gets, Trump gets everybody talking about this war in Ukraine, how, oh, it's the Russians that are the victims, the Ukrainians are the invaders, okay? And we shouldn't be spending all this money on helping them out and all this. So they create what is obviously going to be a gaslighting affair, because you're going to get people who are supporting Ukraine pissed off royally, okay? Because they understand the need to defend a democracy, even if it's not on American soil. It's important as a whole, because if it happened to NATO, we would be helping out NATO, right? I mean, if it happened to Britain, we'd be helping out Britain. Just because Ukraine is not part of NATO doesn't necessarily mean that we should ignore them, because they were trying to become a democracy. They didn't have the time to become members of a grander organization like NATO, okay? But at the same time, we can't ignore them, okay? They were a sovereign nation, and Russia did not, Putin rather, I keep saying Russia, but Putin didn't want that. He wanted Ukraine to become part of Russia again, all right? And I'm sure there's more to it than that, okay? But with Putin, you always have to expect that his mentality goes back to the Cold War era. And that's what he thinks. I mean, he's an old fart now, and he's thinking the old ways. Just like Trump. Trump's the same way. He's a Cold War era thinker, all right? And he ain't the one, he's not the kind of guy that's going to, you know, listen to people in the newer generations on how to do things. No, it's going to be his way or the highway. So Putin's the same way. They're the two minds that think alike. And right now, Trump wants to get his claws back into government here, okay? And I'm sure he's made promises to Putin for a lot of things, like we'll force Ukraine out, we'll stop supporting them, and you'll be able to kick their ass out, okay? Well, you know what Trump's not thinking is if he does that, the rest of NATO is going to be pretty pissed at us for backing out and leaving them holding the bag, okay? Because the United States is really the powerhouse here behind NATO. It always has been, okay? And if we pull out, then the rest of NATO isn't going to be inclined to want to help, and they're all going to be left out to dry. And that's really what this is about. You know, I mean, Russia is going to help Trump become president because they probably figured he'll give them a break. I mean, and you know that's what's going to happen. Okay, you know that's what's going to happen. We're going to be trying to put in another communist well, not another, but the same communist jackass we had for 4 years. We're going to try to stick him back in the fucking White House and hope that, you know, we can repeat things and we'll have a different result. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. Trump is a Trump. He will do what he wants, and it's not going to be any different. It's going to be more of the same. Crimes, scandals, you know, people disappearing. You know, that's what we're going to get for 4 years. And if American people are going to be suckered into doing another 4 years of Trump, then this country deserves exactly what it gets. Okay, I'm sorry, but I can't feel bad for a country that's so blind and led by the nose by the wrong people and don't even care or even know that that's happening. Okay, I'm sorry. How can you feel sad for that, for the country does that? Okay. There's smart people in America who know better than this, all right? They know better than to put their faith in a lunatic. But this guy here, Jimmy Dore, he's got that fiddle now. He's out there playing that song. He's out there trying to turn America, you know, into a big, bad, you know, like he was saying, a mafia country, okay? We're the mafia. Well, in that regard, maybe he is. If Trump was still president, yeah, we'd be considered a mafia because that's how Trump ran the country. Okay? But since Biden has become president and he's been there for 2 years, he's done a lot for America that, you know, we have a low unemployment rate. We got new jobs being created. Okay? We've gotten out of, a recession that Trump left us in. Okay, yeah, we got this inflation battle going on, but that's not just in the United States, that's globally. Okay, every country is experiencing inflation right now, and that's due a lot to the supply chain being slow. All right, we don't have the same number of people working in that anymore. Okay, so there's blame to go around for that, and it ain't all Biden's fault. But like I said, the right wing can't beat Biden on that. Okay, they have nothing to point to as a success to throw up against Biden's face. So what are they going to do? They're going to create this great big societal upheaval here over what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. Okay, and at the same time, they're going to do shit behind the scenes because the media will all be focused on that. And keep everybody focused on that, and they're going to find some way to slip in a Republican or Donald Trump back into the White House in some way, and that'll be the focal point. Everybody's going to be talking about that instead of talking about how can we, get this country moving more forward again, with more jobs and doing our infrastructure and try to fix that up, and especially after the shit that's going on with the railways. I mean, you know, what can we do there, and how can we get women their abortions, their rights to their abortions? You know, all these things that we need to be working on. The Republicans are going to take that focus away from us, only if we allow it. But they're going to take that focus away from us in order to look look what's going on over there. Okay, look what's going on over there. Even though when we started this thing, helping them out, everybody was behind it. Even the Republicans were behind it, okay? But now, all of a sudden, the Republicans are anti-war, okay? They're anti-war. It's funny how when we went to get Saddam Hussein, they didn't care. They didn't give a shit about attacking a country that had nothing to do with 9/11, and and demolishing a nation with innocent people, women and children. Republicans were all behind assaulting that country, because we had a Republican for president. But now that there's a Democrat sitting in the White House, oh no, we can't go to war, we can't do that. It's all political posturing. That's all it is. These people have no fucking backbone. They have no any moral core. Okay, they flip-flop on things whenever it's convenient, when they feel it helps them. But they don't have a core to any values at all. Okay, believe me, they don't give a shit about abortion. A lot of these Republicans, they don't. Okay, that's only the religious right that gives a shit about that. But everybody else that's on the right wing, okay, they don't care. One way or the other, they don't care. But it helps them win elections. So yeah, we care. Until I get my office, and then I won't even talk any more about it. They don't care. They don't care. Believe me. Okay. That's something you can always, be thankful for with Democrats, is what they run on is exactly what they try to work on when they get into power, okay? And they could focus and work on it a whole lot better if the right wing would leave them the fuck alone and let them get the job done. Because if they did, you'd be surprised how much better our country would look today, okay? It would be a whole lot better than it is now. But the right wing is always there to strangle progress in this country with every fiber of their being by telling people, well, some people, what they want to hear. They don't want to hear hope. They want to hear disaster. They want to hear anger and hatred and shit like that. That's all they want to hear, okay? And Jimmy Dore, I guess, feels like he needs to go down that road in order to be relevant again in society. Maybe he feels like people are tuning out to him because they don't want to hear the Democratic message anymore. They'd rather hear the anger and hatred and stuff that's spewing from the right. And so he starts off in Washington, D.C. at a peace rally, of all places, and he starts talking that shit. Did you happen to notice in that video the Russian flag that was going around behind him, underneath the American flag? Okay, that ought to tell you something right there. That if this was such a peace rally, why is the people behind him supporting Russia, who's out there trying to destroy Ukraine? Is that peace? So obviously, this is all about him trying to help himself financially by catering to the crazy, wacky right wing that's out there that would rather see the United States fall on its face than actually do anything or any work to help it. Because hey, it's always easier to destroy than it is to create, right? So why bother trying to fix what is? Why don't we just destroy it all? That's the way they think. That's the way a lot of these Republicans justify what they say and do. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is like one of those people. She don't care about what needs to be fixed in America for it to work better. No, she'd just rather destroy the whole fucking thing. Her, Lauren Boebert, and some of these other freaks that are out there. Okay, they would just rather bring down what is to make a nation that they would rather live in. Okay, who the hell gave the minority the right to have that kind of power to take away from everybody else what they accept? It's supposed to be majority rule, not minority. Does that ever cross their mind? It did, but then they decided, well, we can get around that. All we got to do is use money. We'll buy our way into a system we like. And that's what they've been doing. Because corporations, hey, they're happy to give these people money because that gets them out of paying taxes, right? So, on that kind of a thing here, there's another story here I want to get into. But let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
This fall, make a brilliant getaway to Maine. Start planning your Maine vacation at visitmaine.com. You'll find hundreds of fall getaway packages filled with exciting special offers. You can also request your free Maine travel planner. Come discover, there's more to Maine.
Hey y'all, I'm out here at our outdoor shower trying out Manscaped's new body wash. It smells amazing. It comes in this 16-ounce aluminum can with a pump, which I love. It's infused with aloe vera and sea salt, which gives the perfect combination of tough cleaning and soothing hydration. After you cleanse with your refined body wash, grab your Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof trimmer and shave when your skin is properly prepped for trimming.
Holy fuck.
Were you just checking out her ass?
No, I wasn't.
You know what? Fuck this.
Wait, babe, calm down. Oh my god. Mary! I am sorry!
Donald Trump is back, angry, vengeful, ready to take back the White House and wreck America again. And who's going to stop it? These weaklings and losers, business leaders, they'll bend the knee and write the checks. The press? Too many are just here for the show, ready to both sides America to death. The law? He'll ignore it, like he's always done. No. The only people who will stop Trump are Americans ready to put country over party, ready to put differences aside to save this country, ready to work, ready to fight, ready to stand up when he knocks America down. Because it's not about left and right. It's not about rich and poor, black or white. Like it's always been, the choice is simple. It's America or Trump.
Then January 6th happens, and next thing you know, I organized the whole thing along with Steve Bannon here. And I'm going to tell you something, if Steve Bannon and I had organized that, we would have won.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Back, everybody. Remember when America was so great that we was able to reach for the stars and get to them? Well, those days are long gone, aren't they? People today would rather use space to fight battles with now instead of expand their horizons. You know, sad. People today ought to be ashamed of themselves for squandering what was a good thing. Okay, before we went into the break, I said there was another article here I wanted to talk about. Here, let me get my glasses on. This is about that crazy bitch here I was talking about in a short that I had made, Emily Core. Now, I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but I know I had mentioned one possible reason why this girl was put into the grand jury, and it seems like I'm not the only one now that's saying that. So here we go. Story is written by Gabriel Hayes and entitled MSNBC Historian Suggests Georgia Grand Jurors Media Tour Was a Conspiracy to Help Trump. NBC News and MSNBC historian Michael Beschloss promoted the idea that the bizarre media interviews with Georgia Special Grand Jury forewoman Emily Kors might be a conspiracy to undermine the case, looking into potential illicit 2020 election meddling on the part of former President Donald Trump. The talking head floated out his idea on Thursday that Kors' media tour was either a bit of over-the-top excitement about the ongoing case or a, quote, deliberate effort, unquote, to damage a case potentially incriminating of Trump's alleged efforts to interfere in Georgia's 2020 presidential election vote counting. Beschloss asked on Twitter, quote, was the sudden media tour by Georgia foreperson inspired by A, innocent exuberance, or B, someone's deliberate effort to damage a potential case against the ex-president, unquote. By promoting this conspiracy theory, the presidential historian seemed to admit he disapproved of Kors' media tour, which dominated the news cycle earlier this week, for how bizarre and uncanny it was. Also, whether he did so unknowingly or not, Beschloss's conspiracy theorizing appeared to implicate his employer at NBC News in facilitating the supposed effort to damage the case against Trump. Kors spoke with multiple cable news outlets on this media tour, including NBC and CNN. Okay, Fox's coverage further described Kors' antics during the CNN interview with anchor Kate Bolduan, stating, quote, she appeared thrilled to be on television as she told Bolduan she didn't want to disobey the judge by offering too much information, unquote. During the interview, Kors coyly told Bolduan, quote, I really don't want to share something that the judge made a conscious decision not to share. I will tell you that it was a process where we heard his name a lot. We definitely heard a lot about former President Trump, and we definitely discussed him a lot in the room, unquote. On other programs, CNN anchors lamented Kors' media blitz. CNN's Anderson Cooper and Eli Honig suggested Kors' interviews may not have been wise for the sake of the case. Cooper told Honig, quote, first of all, why this person is talking on TV, I don't understand, because she's clearly enjoying herself, but I mean, is this responsible? She was the foreperson of this grand jury, unquote. Honig responded, calling the press tour a quote, unquote, horrible idea. He added that it could benefit Trump's legal defense, saying, quote, mark my words, Donald Trump's team is going to make a motion if there's an indictment to dismiss that indictment based on grand jury impropriety. She's not supposed to be talking about anything, really, unquote. So, you see, that's what I was thinking before, is that she was probably deliberately chosen, you know, if not planted, into that grand jury, because when they spoke to her to interview her, she was acting weird or something, and they figured we could get her in there, and she would be our golden ticket to quash this goddamn whatever indictment, you know, they hand down. We can get rid of it, okay? Certainly it's going to work to Trump's favor. I mean, his lawyers are already looking into that right now, okay? They're just waiting for the right time in which to drop the hammer. So, you know, kudos to the defense team and whatever way they managed to get this golden turkey into the fucking mix to once again delay and stall this process. That's what they're going to be doing all the way into the presidential election. If they can delay and stall and keep Trump out of prison, okay, or out, you know, where they could say, well, he can't run because he's a criminal. That's what they're going to be doing from now until the election, and I guarantee you, once he's president, they can't touch him, okay? So that's what this is all about, you know, delay, delay, delay. And you're going to find a lot of weird things happening from now on concerning the cases against Trump. A lot of things are just going to happen that's like, what's the odds of this happening? You know, why is this a weird thing happening? It's all because it's supposed to happen in order to delay the process, okay? Delay as much as they can. You know, already people are getting pissed that this has dragged on so fucking long, okay? Because people want to see justice. But now it's getting to the point where people are going to say this guy's getting away with it. And the sad thing is, if Trump gets away with all the shenanigans he did while he was president, justice doesn't exist for the president. There's no such thing as making a president accountable for his crimes, okay? It just won't happen in America. Not in this political climate anyway, but it's not going to happen. A president can break the law and get away with it. It's as simple as that. And this guy, he's really putting the law to the test. Trump really is putting our justice system to the test here. And the lawyers he's getting, they're figuring out ways of dodging bullets that you wouldn't believe. Okay, even if it means breaking the law to dodge those bullets, you know, changing the laws of physics, as other people would say, they're going to do it. To cheat, to steal, to lie, to do whatever it takes. But he's never going to answer for what he did. And that's my opinion anyway. I don't think he's ever going to answer for it. He's too slick. That's the reason why they call him the Teflon Don. Okay, he didn't get that nickname by chance. He earned that fucking nickname. Okay, you know, you want to talk about a mob boss? He is just that, a fucking mob boss. I mean, that's the worst of the worst that you're ever going to see. He makes the mafia look shit. Okay, he puts them to shame. Okay, he's the guy you want to run your fucking mafia, because you'll never have to worry about answering to a goddamn thing. Okay. So this thing here about Emily Core is really, like I said, the key to unlock the door to appeals and dodging bullets and stuff. She was the person they wanted on the fucking bench. And not only that, they made her the woman, okay? That's, you know, what are the odds that the one weak element in that, the one weak link in that chain would be the one that's going to be sitting as the forewoman? I mean, do you think that's coincidence? Okay, come on. That's why I say she was a plant. She was a fucking plant. I really think she was deliberately put in there because they knew what she was like, or at least they coached her to act that way. Either way, okay, she is going to get away, or she's going to help Trump get away with more shit, okay? I don't know what the hell they're going to do about that. Okay, and this other story here, which is really kind of a shocker for me. I don't know how many of you people like read comic strips in the newspapers or whatever like that. I used to when I was a kid, but I don't anymore really. At least not the comic strips in the newspapers anyway, because to me they just seem, you know, I don't know, boring or something. They used to be more interesting, but I guess it's because when you're a kid, those things are interesting. But anyway, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, okay, he said some pretty nasty shit here recently. And it's got a lot of people pissed off, because I think a lot of people didn't know he was like this, okay? I really don't think that people really figured that. A lot of us have the impression that, you know, comic strip artists are broad-minded folk, liberal in their thinking, and apparently that's, you know, I think our preconceptions about that now have been shattered, because now we know that they can also be hateful. And so here's the story here from Cleveland, written by Chris Quinn. Cleveland.com, I guess, is the website that it's from. And it's entitled, "We Are Dropping the Dilbert Comic Strip Because of Creator Scott Adams' Racist Rant. Letter from the Editor." Scott Adams, creator of the Dilbert comic strip, went on a racist rant this week on his Coffee with Scott Adams online video show, and we will no longer carry his comic strip in the Plain Dealer. This is not a difficult decision. Adams said black people are a hate group, citing a recent Rasmussen survey which, he said, shows nearly half of all black people do not agree with the phrase, quote, "it's okay to be white," unquote. Quote, "I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give you to the white people is get the hell away from black people," unquote, he said in the video. He says a lot more in the video, mostly hateful and racist, all viewable on YouTube. It's a staggering string of statements, all but certain to result in the loss of his livelihood. I hate to quote him at all, but I do so to dissuade responses that this is a, quote, cancel culture decision, unquote. No, this is a decision based on the principles of this news organization and the community we serve. We are not a home for those who espouse racism. We certainly do not want to provide them with financial support. Adams's reprehensible statements come during Black History Month, when the Plain Dealer has been publishing stories about the work being performed by so many to overcome the damage done by racist decisions and policy. We're not the first newspaper to drop Dilbert. Last year, according to the Daily Beast, 77 newspapers published by Lee Enterprises dropped it after Adams introduced his first black character, apparently to poke fun at quote-unquote woke culture and the LGBTQ community. We are part of Advanced Local, and the leaders in all Advanced Local newsrooms independently have made the same decision we did to stop running the strip. That includes newspapers in Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Oregon. Unfortunately, for the next week or so, you'll still see some Dilbert cartoons in our pages. The comics are printed in advance, and the Sunday, Wednesday, and Sunday, March 5th sections are waiting to be inserted into the newspapers for those days. Until we decide what to replace Dilbert with, you'll likely see a gray box where it has been appearing. We have a head start on a replacement, though. I wrote a column last month explaining why we were carrying Beetle Bailey, and many people wrote with suggestions for other comics we might publish. We'll be happy to use those recommendations in choosing a comic for the space where Dilbert has appeared. Adams has been producing Dilbert for 30 years. For years, the comic was considered a devastating satirical commentary on workplace policies. In recent years, the Daily Beast says Adams has gained attention for publicly embarrassing, ridiculous right-wing conspiracies. So, yeah, I didn't know about the other things that he was doing there that got him kicked out of 77 other newspapers, okay? I guess that got by me. But seeing that he, that he did this here this week, and then he was doing other shit, obviously this guy's a fucking racist, okay? Why should we even have anybody read any of this shit at all? And I'm glad that they're kicking him off the paper, okay? I'm sorry that, for those of people who are thinking that this is, cancel culture or whatever they want to label it as, but when you silence people from racism and bigotry, you can get all pissed off all you want. You can call it cancel culture all you want. I don't care. What I call it is a good decision. Okay? People don't need to have more of this shit thrown into the pot. We don't need to have our young minds or older minds have them reinforced with racism like it's normal or like we should accept it. I mean, he's making it sound like, oh, don't feel bad if you don't want to live around black people. Well, just move out. Okay? Stay away from them. What about the hundreds of thousands of people who work around black people every day and not have one fucking problem with them? Or those people who live in neighborhoods with black people and never have a fucking problem with them? Okay? I think the only ones that do are those people who are just uncomfortable around them in the first place, which is based in their fucking racism. Okay? That's what it is. Obviously, this guy's got a huge problem around black people, and he can't live around them. It just drives him nuts, and he's sick of it. Okay? And I don't know where he got this fucking survey. I think this is just him trying to dig some kind of fucking data to back up his bigotry, to make it seem like, oh, well, I looked at the polls and I did this and that, and I figured, what? I shouldn't be around these people. He made that decision a long fucking time ago, and it didn't have a goddamn thing to do with Rasmussen, survey or whatever the hell he's citing here for source. Okay? He made that on his own brain. All right? Is the way he feels about being next door to somebody that's not of the same color as he is, okay? I'm sorry if he feels that way. But you know something? It's his fault if he feels uncomfortable. It's not their fault. All right? It isn't their fault at all. What did they do? They go over and throw rocks at his house or something? They did nothing to this guy. Nothing. Okay? Why is it do I feel like, racism and the Klan and all these nasty things that exist in this country are just exploding all over the place. And it's like, Trump isn't president anymore, but yet these people are still out there coming out of the fucking woodwork. What's going on here? Is somebody putting itching powder under these bastards here and getting them to go out and do stuff they're not supposed to be doing? I don't understand it. You're seeing it in every part of the world where you would not expect to see it. In your police force, in comic strips now, in the religious leaders and stuff. I mean, this shit is everywhere. I can't understand why, we have, people living in a country that can't seem to stand the fact of this nation being, or what is supposed to be, a blending pot of different races living together. Okay? I can't see how they can just say, well, I'm going to attack them. I'm going to bastardize them, okay, for being here. What's wrong with you packing your shit and leaving? Okay? Why don't you pack your shit and leave if you can't get them to leave? If you hate this country so much, why don't you be the one that leaves? Why doesn't somebody tell Scott Adams, look, you don't have to stay here. You're perfectly free to pack your shit and point your nose at the nearest country and go live there and see if you're happier there. Okay? But you don't have to stay here. Take your comic strip and go the fuck somewhere else and live there. Okay? We don't want you here. If you're going to be here to start trouble, which is apparently what he's going to be doing now with his online account, he's going to use that to spew his venom. If he's going to be doing that for the rest of his life, because no one's going to buy his fucking comics, then I would just insist that he pack his stuff and leave. We don't need any more of that shit thrown in our water here, okay? It's poisoned enough as it is. We don't need that, you know. So, you know, I think that, you know, we really can't look or assume that something is pure and untouchable, that it can't be tainted, that it can't be poisoned in some way. Okay, anybody that's, you know, has some kind of how do you say it? Anyone who has some sort of a doorway into all of society, like the internet or something like that, is capable of putting out their worst side and feel like they don't have to worry about being attacked because they're doing this shit at home or at the office or wherever the hell they are that they're doing this stuff, okay? You know, I don't think that way. I mean, yes, I got YouTube here. I talk on YouTube, but I put, you know, who I am really out there. And I'm not going to come on here and attack certain groups of people because of baseless feelings that I got, okay? Which is what Scott's doing here, okay? He's got no reason to think that the black people are out to get him, okay? You know, if that was true, then, you know, he'd have had his nose busted and his neck broken and everything, you know, for the things that he says. But even after he says all these things, you see anybody knocking on his door with a gun there to blow his head off? No. So how bad could these people be in his neighborhood? You know, and you know, I was, like I said, I was in the military. I worked around black people, you know, lots of them. Okay, and hey, they treated me the same as they treated each other, okay? And I didn't feel like, you know, I was, you know, segregated out, you know. They laughed at me. They called me an idiot when I acted like an idiot. I mean, and, you know, when I did the same with them. And, you know, hey, we just, I mean, I had a really good buddy that, you know, we liked the same thing. We liked science fiction and Star Trek and Robotech and stuff. And he was always hanging around me all the time, you know. And, we just, you know, when we went to different bases, we kind of lost contact with each other, but, you know, we still tried to write online, you know, from time to time, and, you know, once in a while we still do, you know, of course, you know, he gets really busy, but, you know, there's nothing there to say that, you know, we couldn't, you know, that we had to be at each other's throats, you know. You know, I respected the things that he did because we didn't, you know, we weren't from the same kind of religion, but I respected his religion. He respected, you know, mine. I didn't try to, you know, push that in his face, and he didn't do the same to me. You know, we just hung around with each other and enjoyed the things that we liked, and, you know, we had some great conversations. And I mean, hey, I would rather be doing that. You know, if you're a person that's feels uncomfortable around other races or whatever nationalities, the best thing to do is talk to each other, you know, talk to them, ask them, you know, how you doing, you know, and what's your name? My name is this, you know, and sit down and have a goddamn conversation with them, okay? You would be surprised how much easier you're going to feel, you know, after about 10 or 20 minutes talking to this fella, and you're going to have you're going to start to change over time as to how you think about them, okay? Because now you're always gonna compare other people to that person you talk to, and you know what? It's gonna change your perception of them over time. Okay? You might not think that. You might think you're full of shit. Okay, that's fine if you want to be stubborn, but stubbornness gets you nowhere. You know, because life is about change. Okay, you can't. Nothing stays the same ever. So why stay the same miserable self that you are now? Instead, try and challenge yourself. Do something that, you know, go down that rocky road that you're always avoiding, okay? Because that's the road that is change, that does challenge you as a man or a woman, okay, to be something better than what you were before. Isn't that what life's about, as evolution? To become something better. And if we couldn't get better by talking to other people in order to learn to accept them, then why the hell did God make us that way in the first place if he didn't want us to get along with each other? Did he put us on this earth so we could find a whole bunch of people and round them up into a prison and beat the shit out of them and stuff? No, of course not. You know better than that. And, you know, and I know in your mind, you know, okay, that I'm right. So don't lie to me and say, oh, no, that's not the... You know, screw your fucking thought. You know, if you believe that God's peace, then peace is what we're supposed to be living by. Not war and not anarchy and not antagonism. Okay? Part of acceptance is learning how to deal with people we don't see every day. Okay? And learning how to put differences aside for the sake of having, you know, relationships that are positive and meaningful. Okay? That lead to peace. You know this thing, you know, going on in Ukraine. Okay, it would end if Putin was even interested in talking peace. But you know he's not going to do that. Even Biden said that. We'd sit at the table if Putin wanted to be there, but we know he doesn't because he's put so much effort into trying to take that country. Okay, he's not going to talk peace. He's too busy lying to his own people in Russia about, oh, you know, they're trying to kill me and all this. You know, he's over there trying to play the victim, all right, and making the United States look like the bad guy. And he's done so well with it that he's actually got people in this country thinking or saying or echoing the same goddamn thing that he's saying. Okay, that's how you know we got Russian people in this country, supporters or whatever you want to call them, echoing Putin's message here because he knows that you can get Americans over here to believe him. We're stupid. Even though we're living in a free society, we are still able to believe somebody else's lie, even if it's in another country, okay? And yes, the Republicans are stupid. And yes, they're pro-Russia. And yes, they're the ones helping Putin win this fucking fight in Ukraine. Shame on them. Shame on them for standing up against the United States because that's what they're doing when they side with Putin. You know, instead of being an American and siding with helping other countries in dire straits by a communist dictator, okay, who's out to get them. These people are not fighting offensively, they are fighting defensively. If they were fighting offensively, their planes would be crossing the border into Russia every fucking day, trying to take out Russian sites. They ain't been doing that. Instead, they're trying to get rid of the Russians in their country and push them back out of the border. That's what they're doing. They have no ambition about taking on Russia. Anyway, so yes, this has been, you know, a pretty, you know, mixed up kind of fucking Friday here when I look at the news today, and that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about here because I'm going over my limit here. And anyway, I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend. Take care of those of you in the cold areas of the country this weekend. Stay warm, and you know, it's hard to do things when it's cold out. I understand that, but try to come up with some new thing you've never done before at home or whatever, and see if you can enjoy that. You know, try something for once. You know, I mean, draw a picture, do a painting. If you're not into that, try and do something, you know, that's different. It makes the time go by faster. You know, whatever you can find that's going to help you. And keep your ears open for COVID-19 news. You know, over here they're taking the shields down, believe it or not, in the stores and stuff like that, where, you know, protecting the people. They're starting to take all these things down, you know, which is kind of a shock to me because I thought, you know, hey, it's not time yet to think that we've beaten COVID. But they're doing that here, and it feels like a positive thing. It brings a little hope, but it's a little bit scary too, you know. And a lot of people aren't wearing masks anymore around here, even though I am. But a lot of people are still not wearing their masks. So I guess people are feeling a little more confident that, you know, we can move on with our lives after what's happened. So anyway, I hope everybody has a good weekend. Subscribe and comment, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody.